Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Thumb. I was out here moving my fence this morning, and I actually did a short on this too, but I didn't think the short really did justice what I'm kind of excited about. So I'm standing in probably the worst part of this field, worst part of this whole farm. You know, this 80-acre parcel. It's just high ground. It's depleted. I mean, it's hard. It's doesn't take water very well. It doesn't, bottom line, it doesn't grow very good crops, or I wouldn't say it doesn't grow good crops, but it's not as good as the rest of it is. But anyway, so this was a little history on it. It was rye. Let me turn this camera around. It was rye, and it was combined, I don't know, late July, early August. I can't remember. I think it was late July. It was combined. It did all right. I mean, for rye, it did all right. But then I planted some cover crops. There was radish, oats, sun hemp. I think this might be the sun hemp. I'm not sure. I'm not real familiar with that. I didn't plant very much of it. There's volunteer rye. And then I think I actually planted a little bit of rye just to kind of carry all the other stuff into the plant. But it really, I didn't plant it real thick. And all buckwheat too. Yeah, there's a little bit of buckwheat growing here too. So, but as far as what the cattle are eating, when I first turned them out here, they weren't eating the radish real well, but now they're nipping the radish right down. Well, they're not eating lamb's quarter. It's probably just not in the right stage. I'm kind of surprised there is some mare's tail growing out here. Yeah, here's one. I never really looked to see. I think whether it's the rye or the cover crops, I think that's kind of holding back the mare's tail from growing, because, well, beyond where the cattle are, and there's a fence there, but I had oats there, and the mare's tail kind of went crazy there. I mean, it's not terrible, but yeah, it's a lot worse than where this rye was growing. But anyway, the reason for this video was this depleted area. I mean, everything came up, and it's not anything to be completely ashamed about, because it's actually working. You can kind of tell where the cattle were yesterday and where they are, where I just moved them to. Pretty much straight through this picture, whatever you want to say. But I'm standing on the line, I guess, is the bottom line. But here's a spot that I noticed. Out of all this terrible, depleted ground, here is I'm going to call it a biological hotspot. And the only thing I can think of is maybe there was a deer turd laying here, and it fertilized just this little area. And I always joke about it. If you had a deer turd every square foot, that'd be like 1.5 tons of manure on your property. But yeah. So anyway, these radishes. I mean, look at that. It's like I don't know. It's probably 1.5 inches diameter, and I don't know how deep it goes. I'm gonna pull it. Oh, actually, it doesn't go that far. Well, that tells you how, like, where my thumb is. That was the ground level, so it went in that far, and then basically it's compacted after that. But then there's this root, which is, I don't know, probably 1/2 inch diameter at the highest or the longest point. But then there's also the foliage too, that the cattle are going to eat, and it's, at the time, it's sucking in carbon, loosening up the ground, so it's all doing good. But I guess what excites me is, like, okay, if there's that biological hotspot, well then, all this spot where I'm not back fencing this, but I'm still just giving them a little bit at a time. That way they spend, spend a little bit of time in the new spot I give them, and that makes them poop more in one spot. So next year, all these spots should be biological hot spots, as good, if not better, than what here's 3 of them in a row. So I should be penning them in this spot more, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to let them move stuff around, I guess you would say. But yeah, so if I have all these biological hot spots and they end up more just like that spot over there, kind of right in front of that one. Yeah, so if they all turn out that way next year, that'll slowly improve this ground. Yeah, this regenerative farming thing, some people laugh about it, but if you take the time and study it and work with it, work with nature instead of against it. Yeah, a lot of people laugh. I mean, there's a lot of weeds growing out in this spot, but there's also a lot of good stuff too. So, and even the weeds, is it really bad? Your agronomist is going to tell you yes, because he's got a bottle of something to kill it. Your neighbor is going to say yes because he doesn't want it on his property, which is understandable, because he's going to have to buy a bottle of stuff to kill it because he doesn't want it there. Yeah, I'm not going to go on and on about it, but that was, to me, that is a small aha moment of regenerative farming. I mean, you stand it back at a distance and you look at it. If you had your whole field looking like that with basically no input other than some labor moving fence all the time, that's pretty good. That's pretty easy as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I mean, since I've been farming for like 5 years now, I've pretty much struggled every year just trying to figure out what to do, but it's nice to see something free happen for a change, and seeing good results out of something that with very minimal input. And as far as financially, there's hardly any input other than, I did have to buy some temporary fence and some pigtail posts, but other than that, I mean, I built the fence around it, but that was, for other purposes, let's say. I'm not going to get into that now, but yeah, guess I'm going to leave you with some a nice little sunrise scene. It is, I think it's October 6th in the thumb of Michigan. And thanks for watching Thumb Country Stuff, and take her easy.